Hello viewers, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. Today I wanted to read on the tariffs. So let's have a look. As you know, the Trump has now moved to put additional tariffs on Chinese goods, and China has in return retaliated with more additional tariffs on American goods, which actually target farmers in America. Now we've had your Tom Cotton come out and say, well, the American consumer has to take a little bit of pain, and it's not as big a sacrifice as what a soldier might have made. So I'm not sure about that argument between free trade tariffs and actually going to war, American soldiers going to war. But anyway, be that as it may, he's copping a lot of flack in the media for saying that. But back to the tariffs. How's the general public actually reacting to them? I have to say that when I read on this, I do so as an interested party, because these tariff wars, and we'll call them a tariff war, actually impact on the global economy. We've got uncertainty in England as a result of the Brexit fiasco, we've had already Trump's tariffs have impacted, and now we're getting more. Okay, so let's have a look at. I'm picking up a frustration here coming from voters and really coming forward globally around whether or not Trump is actually of sound mind to be making these sorts of decisions, and why isn't someone reining him in? It's obviously such a poor decision. So is Trump's decision to increase the tariffs on China, is it broadly supported? No, it's not. Okay, the Five of Pentacles, it's actually going to cause financial loss here. All right, let's bring the laptop down. It's actually going to lead to poverty. It's actually going to lead to people losing money. Now, we know the stock market reacted negatively when the decision was made, when the news broke. Now, the challenge here is Trump really being backed into a corner. I asked if the American public, or indeed global citizens of the world, agree with what Trump's doing, and it seems to me that this card is suggesting that they don't, because this is the card of self-defense. It's also about putting up boundaries here. Are these boundaries warranted? Are these boundaries needed? Are these trade barriers needed? And it appears that this person is fairly isolated in that conclusion. So this is Trump's challenge. What's going to happen is it's going to have an impact here on American consumers. It's actually going to have an impact on the farmers. It already has, and now there's going to be more. And it's really just going to be the thing that backs him further into the corner here, because it's presenting as a challenge for him. Now, in the foundation of the reading is hope here, and so I feel that this is tied up with generally how people perceive the American president at the moment. It's just time he was gone. I can't say it any more plainer than that. It is time he was gone, but he's not. He's still there, and he's still being. The Republicans are still covering for him. As Elizabeth Warren said in the Senate, they are surrounding him with covered wagons, and when in actual fact they should be protecting the Constitution of America. So all of that is the backdrop to this decision. It's like more chaos, more downturns, more decisions that aren't made appropriately, that aren't in the best interests, that everybody can see. That accelerating a trade war is very foolhardy, yet these decisions are being made. This is a counsel to keep your thoughts positive, not to descend into that really hopelessness that is really present at this point in time. And really in the past, there's this loss here. People have been impacted by tariffs. People have lost money because of this. Incomes have been lost. The cost of living has risen. There's a lot of pain out there in the economy that you know, because it's so widespread, it's not easily identifiable. But if you were to go and knock on the door of some of those farming communities, you'd soon find the pain and loss there. And this is almost like a betrayal. You know, almost like they feel that these decisions or that the government is actually betraying them. Um, so you know, Trump's approval polls. It would be interesting to see, if you do subscribe to polls, how they're actually going now that he's announced these tariffs, these additional tariffs. Now we've got the King of Swords as really the solution to this problem, and of course it's the Mueller report, but it's also, I do believe, impeachment. Right now Trump's skidding along or skating along, and he's really making decisions that someone who should be indicted possibly, you know, shouldn't be making. And there's no accountability on these decisions. And I go to the hostilities with Iran. It's come out today that there's a plan to send 120,000 troops to the Middle East. Who is monitoring this person? Increasing tariffs, hurting consumers, really potentially taking the global economy into a meltdown. Where is the accountability? And this is where people are coming out now. Where is the accountability? What is the Congress doing to oversight this president? Now, in the immediate future, we've got the Four of Swords, and this is actually, I'm afraid, this is somebody that's being wounded, and I do feel that the reaction to the increase in tariffs is a little bit like it's going to wound the economy. And it's also relating to these lawmakers that are not standing up to be counted and to keeping this president in check, whose own economic advisor is saying that tariffs aren't the right way to go. They're retreated. Where are they to be found? Now, the foundation of the reading is the smug merchant here. It's the Nine of Cups. This comes forward as the wish card, but it's also connecting very strongly with the King of Swords. It's almost as though this was my card for Trump prior to him becoming Trump the businessman, Trump the president. This is, this is around an arrogance here, an arrogance that's not being held in check. The Nine of Wands, it's because people are actually battle weary. It's because that they have been fighting on so many fronts. Again, where is the accountability and the checks and balances? The hopes and the fears. This is the Two of Cups. This is around, again, I'm coming back to unity, to hold Trump accountable, including on the economy. It's going to take the Republicans as well. Now, when you have Tom Cotton coming forward and saying, it's okay, consumers can take a bit of pain, then you understand that this is actually a fear. This disunity, this unable to hold the president in check, is actually causing a great deal of fear here. Now, the Ace of Pentacles is the income sources. We asked how the American voter, or how the general public, how global markets, global citizens are reacting to these additional tariffs. They're concerned about their income sources, the stocks, the investments, the economy. They're concerned that the tariffs will have further negative impact on the economy. And the Queen of Cups is coming forward as though they see the economy should be supported, not exploited, shall we say, in the way that it is at the moment, and they're calling for more balance. So what we can't see is restriction here, contraction, and I feel that this is what's hidden from our view, and this is what's relating to the economy. So the voting public, the Americans, the average Americans, the farmers in the Rust Belt states, they're going to continue to suffer. And people are generally wondering, where is the accountability when we've got this money loss here? Just apologies for that chainsaw going in the background. Why isn't he being held accountable? Where are the pieces of the puzzle that finally take this president down? Now, when his own advisors are saying that what he's doing on the economy is the wrong thing. So let's have a look if these tariffs will actually will contribute to a recession in the shorter term. Will the additional tariffs, will the trade war with China contribute to a recession? A global recession, because as you know, if the American economy takes a downturn, then so too will global economy. So I'm as impacted by this tariff war as what you are. So let's have a look. Will this escalation in the tariff war, will it contribute to a downturn in the economy, a recession? I'm feeling quite strongly, yes, of course, and it's pretty well common sense. The signifier card is commerce and expansion. What is challenging that? Okay, the Six of Swords is is a card that indicates that we need to move on. So this is saying that we should be moving on from the trade war. We should not be perpetuating it, and that the ability for the economy to expand will be actually impacted by the additional tariffs. Now, the foundation of the reading is that Trump is actually isolated on this. I don't think if you went to the countries around the world and said, is this escalation of the trade war going to be a good thing, you would find that he's very isolated. And again, the voting public are very concerned. They want this president held accountable, and that is not happening at the moment. In the past, we've got a balance, the temperance card. This is calling for the need for balance. So at some point in the past, when common sense should have prevailed, when logic tells you that tariffs are a barrier to free trade, and of course someone's going to pay the price, the consumer, the exporter, those that buy goods, those that export goods are going to pay the price. When common sense should have prevailed, of course, that balance was not forthcoming because we now have more tariffs. Now, the world here is watching on, and this is a warning around global markets as well. We're not going to be insulated from the pain. In the immediate future, we're going to see a contraction of the economy, okay? And it's not just in America, it's going to be global as well. The situation at the moment, again, we've got these Ace of Pentacles here. So opportunities to go forward, but opportunities that are being restricted. Now, the environment around is the Queen of Swords. What's the Congress doing about this? We go again to Nancy Pelosi and the House. Why is this president allowed to make whole-scale decisions? Someone where there have been multiple examples and actions, collusive actions, someone who any other person would have been indicted for obstruction of justice, someone who is in that position where we're just waiting for him really to be basically put in handcuffs and taken away. Why is he allowed to make these decisions unilaterally without any checks and balances on him? It's suggesting, pardon me, that the Pelosi's got a plan here, that the Democrats in the House have a plan, and I feel it's around the budget here. It's also a concern around the deficit, the economy, and the way that the economy is being managed under this president. Now, the hopes and fears, this again, I'm feeling quite strongly throughout this reading. Where's the justice? Why is this president still there? Where is the accountability? And we've got the King of Wands suggesting that I feel that the lawmakers are going to have a say now on tariffs. I feel that there's going to be some pressure here coming forward, potentially from those senators and Republicans in the states where the farmers are being hit. The Queen of Cups is somebody that sees what's going on. So I feel that both senators, the Republicans and Democrats, aside from Trump's fringe henchmen, are actually going to be having something to say, because we've got the sword of truth here, clarifying the Congress here. Nancy Pelosi here. There is communication behind closed doors about this president. There are real fears that the economy is going to retract as a result of the trade wars. Now, it's hopeful. It's hopeful that justice will be done. So again, we've got to keep our thoughts positive. We've got to understand that the wheels are in motion to remove this president. But this reading is showing that the tariffs will actually have a strong impact on the economy, and there could be a retraction as a result. We asked about whether or not the economy would contract, and of course we're seeing that it possibly will. But I feel that the lawmakers, I feel that the Congress is going to have a say, and there's this strong pull, there's this strong hope that justice will be done, because people are actually concerned, and this president is relatively isolated on the tariffs. Okay, so let's have a look at 120,000 troops in Iran, or plans to send 120,000 troops to Iran. This is roughly around the same number that was sent to Iraq in 2003. Of course, we've got John Bolton driving forward these plans. Okay, there is frustration at this point in time around the lack of tangible evidence that would put Iran as an aggressor. There's almost this feeling that hostilities in the Middle East are being ramped up without a proper basis there. Now that's a worry. That's a worry for all of us. If that war were, or hostilities were to escalate, I want to see here why he's doing this, why he's ramping up a potential war with Iran. I feel that it goes deeper than just a deflection. Is he fulfilling an agenda for Israel and for Saudi Arabia? So is Trump in escalating, ramping up hostilities with Iran? Is he fulfilling an agenda that has been spoken about, agreed to with Saudi Arabia and Israel? Is there a basis to go to war with Iran? Is he fulfilling an agenda to support Saudi Arabia and Israel in the Middle East by ramping up hostilities? Saudi Arabia. I'm getting a draw to Saudi Arabia. Iran. Is this a baseless action that Trump is taking for an agenda that is not immediately obvious to us? Okay, the Chariot, suggesting this is strong action. This is a premeditated strong arm. Iran's being strong armed. The challenge is an offer and a deal that potentially this government has made with some other party. The Five of Wands is suggesting that there's going to be obstacles and challenges put in Trump's way. He can't just roll into the Middle East and start a war with Iran. We've got the EU being very nervous about this. We've got Congress now starting to come forward. Again, this is a president without oversight, and that's a very, very worrying thing. We knew as the news tightened, if you like, as Trump faced increasing calls for justice. We knew as the Mueller report progressed, we knew things would get worse before they got better. And this is what we're seeing now in terms of tariffs and potentially ramping up hostilities. I'm just going to say starting a war with Iran. And here we have the magician working his particular brand of agenda here to get what he wants. Whenever this card comes forward, now it's actualizing plans into reality. We asked about whether or not this was Trump was helping someone else's agenda. Saudi Arabia, Israel, the appearance of the magician, the appearance of the Page of Cups suggesting an offer was made, is actually obvious in this readings already. And we can also look at this Five of Wands as really the foundation of the reading. It's almost like start a war. Okay. And we've got the solution to the problem is things are out of balance here. This Temperance card, Trump is not being tempered. It is critical around the lack of oversight and lack of accountability, because he's been aided and abetted by the party that holds the balance of power, which in the Senate, which is the Republicans. Now, I feel that there's going to be communications coming forward here. Now, I feel that the media may come out with some kind of breaking news around the Iran war or the escalation of hostilities there. I feel something's going to be coming forward in the media that will uncover potentially some kind of agenda in the past here that has nothing to do with Iran attacking America. There's a judgment going to be made here on these actions that Trump has undertaken. The environment around it's going to be hard work now to get this agenda off the ground. The hopes and fears is loss. Nobody wants a war. Nobody wants a war in the Middle East. We've got the Page of Swords. Again, this slow drip of the truth coming out, which will hold this president to account. The Knight of Swords, the Page of Swords, suggesting that some sort of truth. And we've got Mueller. We've got the King of Swords. Look what has turned up here as the outcome. We've got the Page of Swords prizing open the truth. We've got action being taken on the truth. And we've got the King of Swords, the ultimate authority, again, able to cut through the untruths, the lies, the spin, and get to the truth. So I feel that in relation to Iran, there's actually going to be some kind of truth coming forward, which actually suggests that that hostilities are actually being manufactured as part of a plan or an agenda that this current American government has in the Middle East with other players such as Saudi Arabia. I'm getting a real draw to Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to leave that there. The underlying of what's hidden from our view is manipulation, and this is juggling and manipulation. When you put those two cards together, you see that this is almost like, I'm not going to say it's totally manufactured, because when Trump pulled out of that treaty with Iran, of course that escalated hostilities in itself. But there's a suggestion here that something is being manufactured in some way. Now, the underlying theme that's coming through both the increase in tariffs and the war in Iran is around the lack of oversight and accountability that is being put on this president. And voters are getting extremely worried about this. It's almost like we've gone too far now. We've gone too far. Something has to be done. And so I'll finish this reading by saying, are we going to see calls for his impeachment, which would really put Nancy Pelosi has come forward in that first reading I did on tariffs as though she's got some kind of plan here, some kind of strategy. We saw Elizabeth Warren coming out quite strongly calling for impeachment. Let's have a look. Are we going to see impeachment proceedings start soon? No, look, I'm going back to his taxes. And I'm actually going to shut this reading down and do a standalone reading on his taxes. So I'll leave it there. We can see that the critical issue here now is oversight. Oversight and accountability of a president that is making decisions for not just America but for the world that could actually have quite dire consequences. So I'll leave it there and we'll go to his taxes. Thank you.